Still got it.
He still got it. Ah, yeah. Hey, welcome everybody.
To Moving Pictures.
Where pictures move and we review them.
This is going to be a quick little review on a little known film out there.
Yeah, this is really like the underdog story.
It's kind of like an art piece.
Yeah. We got a little unknown gem, I will say.
It's called Endgame.
Yeah, French, right?
Ah, oui, oui.
Oui, oui. And as we know, like every good French film, chock full of full frontal nudity.
Really?
5 out of 5.
Is that thing?
So, we watched Avengers Endgame.
Yes, we did.
It was a
Marvelous film.
It was a marvelous film. It's been 11 years. It's kind of astonishing that the MCU, it's had its ups and its its downs haven't really been that down, but they had a little bit of a down, and then it seemed to like really pick up again. You know, it's been a long time coming. Avengers Endgame. We really got to knowing and loving these characters. It's weird to think that 2008 was Iron Man, and that's when Robert Downey Jr. completely reinvented his career and took on the mantle of Tony Stark, and it's so funny that, like, I remember when Chris Evans was cast as Captain America, I was like, I don't know, that guy was already that guy was like the Human Torch already.
I was on board.
See,
immediately.
I wasn't against it. The only thing I had was like, I was like, oh, he's already had a crack at superhero movies. Like, the guy, he did the Human Torch, he's like, that was his thing. And now, like, I don't even know who remembers that he was the Human Torch. he's
what?
He's Cap. All these actors have really fleshed out and defined these roles. I can't think of a single one that turns out like was miscast. See? You have to think about it that much.
No.
And now here it is. Some of the guys who have been around for like the OG Avengers from the Avengers, or Avengers Assemble as it's also called. Their story arcs are coming to a close in Endgame, and I think for the most part in very satisfying ways.
Yeah.
Heads up, we're probably going to give some spoilers because
No, there's definitely going to be some spoilers.
you can't really talk about the movie without giving some spoilers. And at this point it's been open for like, what, a month?
Yeah.
So like, come on guys. Paul, highlights of the film, what'd you like?
Oh my goodness. The very first scene really sets the tone for the entire film, I think. Clint is at home with his kids, and we all know from the trailer that something must have happened because he's a darker, scarier version of himself.
He got himself one of those radical haircuts where the sides are all like right down to the skull.
Yeah, and you know, once you get a haircut like that, there is no turning back.
No, you're off the deep end.
Yeah, he set in motion a sequence of events that's only going to end in blood.
It's very poignant, actually. Like,
yeah, and he's with his family. You're like, oh no. He's teaching her how to shoot a bow, and his daughter, his two sons are with his wife, and they're all at the picnic bench, and he turns around, and then his daughter you can just see like the dust, and then you're just like, oh, you knew what was gonna happen. You knew, and then.
But even though you knew, I still felt it, man. Like
dude, my heart broke. I was like,
this guy, and just literally snap of a finger, lost his whole life. Mind if he was like, wouldn't only half his family disappear? I'm like, it's not like that. It's like everyone flips a coin. Statistically speaking, yes, only half of them should disappear, but it is entirely possible that they would flip a coin and 4 out of the 5 would get tails.
Yeah, and just some other family that happens to have 3 members, they managed to survive through the snap. Well, is that what we're calling it? The snap?
Yeah, everyone calls it the snap now.
The snap, okay.
The snap is like, that's probably going to be something that's coined for cinema history. Is like important events like the snap.
So Clint turns around, his daughter's gone, and he just thinks that she's playing around, and his wife and his 2 sons are gone. He's like screaming for them, and then it's just the beginning crawl, like the Marvel crawl, I guess. Like, oh. And this movie was filled with these heavy moments. In some films, they can be a little tiresome and just drawn out, but we're all still recovering as moviegoers as well from the shock of losing half our Marvel universe. The half of this universe that we've spent 10 plus years getting attached to, and all of a sudden, just like that, they're gone.
And even though we knew they were coming back, we still all had to know how. It isn't obvious. Like okay, we guess a lot of us figured time travel would be involved, but again, how? I really liked Ant-Man and like him returning. You know, it was really moving. Paul Rudd, even though he's known for comedy, he still really sold these sort of dramatic things where he was just trying to figure out like, what on earth did I miss? As he's looking and the whole planet is in disarray.
Well, it's starting to settle. People are sort of coming to terms with the fact that this had happened, and they're just sort of starting to try to put the pieces back together. I love when he's like looking for his daughter on the obelisks.
But that's something though. Like that, even that image of those obelisks with all the names. Oh. It's like, damn, that is hard hitting.
And that's probably just the people from this city. They probably got monuments like that all over the world.
So, like, really heavy stuff.
I love the use of time travel in revisiting things that we've seen before in other Marvel movies. Yeah. I love that.
You see, what made me think of is, and I've heard this analogy used before as well, it's like a greatest hits album. The Best of Queen. It's like, you're like, oh yeah, all these great hits. Oh yeah. It doesn't have everything that's good, but it has a lot that's good. You know, just paying tributes to all these great moments. And, you know, the thing is it's done in such a clever way. Remember the old sitcoms we'd watch? And they started to run out of budget because they just do clip shows. Doing little gigs like, oh, remember that time da happened? And then it goes through a little clip. It's like
Dragon Ball Z when they run out of ideas. Or like when they weren't translated yet. It was just like, I remember that time I fought Vegeta. And then that time when Hugh fought Frieza.
But in this case, it was done, you know, not as obviously a way to make another episode so they can reach that quota, but as a way of actually almost like this sort of meta aspect of the film where it is kind of letting the audience reflect on the journey that they've been through this whole time.
Yeah, without clipping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the same time, it's all part of the story. It doesn't interrupt anything. It's part of the story.
What'd be really interesting is if, like, because there's going to be a legacy edition or something of all the movies, and I'm going to buy that. It's going to be a box set. It's going to be glorious. But it'd be interesting if they had, like, they added in through, like, After Effects things from Endgame. So if you saw, you're like, wait a second, isn't that? But it's just in passing. And
like you'd have to look for it. It doesn't interrupt anything. You have to look for it.
Yeah, actually, that's something that I really loved about this film was the moments when they actually stopped to talk, especially with like Thor and his mother.
It's kind of something that I think like a lot of people wish they had the opportunity to say another goodbye. You know, to say goodbye proper, you know, take a moment just to talk and because Thor's in such a bad place, she can help, like, you know, sort him out a little and to do, you know, be motherly one last time.
I love that she's the one who pulls his head out of his butt. Sometimes all it takes is a mother's love. She speaks to his soul, right? And his soul is damaged, not just from failing the universe, you know, because they were charged with the task of defending the universe, but he committed murder on a person who was helpless. Because he wanted vengeance. He cut off Thanos' head. And that was the moment, I think, that changed him. Because he was just like, I went for the head. And then he was broken after that. That also makes it so much more powerful when he holds his hand out. Mjolnir comes to his hand and he's like, I'm still worthy. You know?
He felt like he embraced the darkness and he was no longer worthy of the title of king.
Because kings don't succumb, well, in theory, to those primal urges. I legit cried with one Black Widow. Oh, that's one of my favorite scenes too. Oh my god.
You know, and I gotta say, I got faked out pretty good. I really thought...
I got faked out twice!
I really thought, by the time he jumped off, I thought Hawkeye was the one who's gonna fall and die. And then she saved him. It was Black Widow, who's been there since Iron Man 2. Yeah, she just wound up really stepping up. A shame because she never had her own movie. She was always a supporting player. She really got a chance to really step forward and really like take the lead and have one of the most powerful scenes of the film.
Oh yeah, this one's tied with probably the most powerful scene in the film. Yeah, talking about Black Widow, oh my god. I think Scarlett Johansson was the most connected in the film in the scene where she's just sitting there and she's got eating a sandwich or whatever, and Cap comes in the room.
And they're old friends, you know, like they became very good friends in Winter Soldier, and it really and also continued to pay off in Civil War.
Yeah.
And it was just old friends who they saw everything fall apart together.
But they still had each other. I don't know, just really powerful, really touching moments with her.
I like a lot the non-romantic bond between those two.
Yeah.
It never became romance between them. Even though they're both like two of the hottest people on the planet. They just connect on a different level. It's just, there's no tension sexually there. I don't know if it like adds the perfect little button to it, but it adds that conversation. It just doesn't forget the fact that they have this history together. Well, let's move along to, is there anything you didn't like about it? Didn't work?
I don't think so. I feel like the pacing was on point. You know, the one thing I really liked about this Marvel movie is they let moments of real emotional stakes, they let them linger and simmer. You know, at the end of the movie when Pepper tells him, it's okay, we're going to be fine. And you know that she's talking about not just her and Morgan, but humanity. No longer needs a suit of armor around the world. We're going to be fine. And it's that moment that he goes, okay, I can rest.
Wait, didn't he wake up and go like, does anyone want shawarma? I guess there's a few things like I didn't like. If I could nitpick, just to add some balance to the video. Here we go. Doug's complaining again. Sometimes Thor's story arc was played a little bit more for laughs than it should have been, in that he was clearly suffering from some serious PTSD and like classic signs of like traumatic experiences, because you know like he's really flabby and he's super apathetic and seems very detached from everything that's going on around him. Mm-hmm. And often they're just playing it like, oh, it's the Big Lebowski.
I did think that was kind of funny.
I mean, the thing is, you know, the thing is, yeah, it is kind of funny, and I laughed. But the more I reflected on it, the more I was like, oh, so you know what? It does kind of remove some of the potency of what he's actually going through. Kind of removes a little bit of the dramatic weight. When honestly, I don't feel like it should. It's not like I didn't like what they did, but I just feel like it could have been a stronger choice if they went with a more dramatic route.
I wish that once he grabbed like Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, that his body would have like transformed, so he'd be back to Thor, not Porg.
So one more thing. It was somehow just a little too convenient to me that they just pitched sort of like the vague idea of time travel to Tony Stark. He's like, I want no part of it. Later on, he's just like, and then he goes to the computer, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I figured out time travel.
I got the impression that he had been working on it for a while. Even though he's content, he's not happy with how things left off. He would have always been working on that. Because he'd have been like, okay, well, the only way to get everybody back is the quantum realm, because da-da-da-da-da. And then I think it's something that he's been working on, and then he shelved it for a while. And there's no indication of this at all. This is just me spitballing here, but then when he gets approached by everyone, he's just kind of like, not this road again. I don't want to go there. So you got a working thingamabob, you got to, okay, cool. Then he puts some finishing touches on it with what he knows of Hank Pym's experiments, and then he's just like, okay, there you go. Figured it out.
I mean, maybe, but you're not really told that in the movie, so I don't know.
It's like literally the next scene, like that day, and he's just like, oh, hey, look. There's no way he could do it, like, just like,
well, that's what I was saying. It just seems crazy that he would be able to, like, oh, I figured out time travel. Maybe Paul's right. Maybe I'm the big dummy, everybody. Maybe I don't know how to time travel. Apart from that, like, I really don't have any other significant criticisms of the film. We're going to go transition into epic scenes, guys. Okay. We're going to transition into...
I, like, lost my shit in the theater. Mjolnir gets up and hits Thanos, and he's like, ugh, that hurt. That was inconvenient, and then it goes back, and then it's, like, in Cap's hand, and he's like, ugh. And he fights with the hammer, and his shield just blew my mind. I made this, like, guttural sound, and, like, the people sitting across this way, like, laughed at me. I was just like... I was like, oh!
It got cheers. It definitely got cheers when I was in the theater.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everyone was like, "Whoa!" Opening weekend audiences, man. That was probably the most cheered moment of the film. It's one of those things where, yeah, you don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but, like, the clues were kind of sprinkled along the way. In Age of Ultron, when he tugged at Mjolnir, and then it, like, budged an inch, and you see Thor go, like... And then he like, laughed it off. I love that scene so much. Probably a throwaway gag at the time, but for it to have payoff that many movies down the road, like...
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Actually, the payoff in that film, Age of Ultron, was that Vision grabbed the hammer and handed it to him.
That's true, yeah.
So that was, I think, supposed to be...
Right, that's right. That was the payoff to that scene, and now they just paid it off again.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that is some clever filmmaking. When Thor got Mjolnir back, we thought that was a part of like his story arc. Where it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, because it means he's still worthy. That's part of Thor's story arc. But who would have thought that that also would contribute to Steve Rogers' story arc?
I love the scene when Steve's in the old military base and you see Agent Carter come walking in. Mm-hmm. She's by far, in my opinion, the most attractive of the Marvel ladies.
Oh, you love you some Peggy Carter, eh?
Oh, my goodness. But I think she's also the strongest of like the females.
Like you feel like character-wise?
Character-wise, I think she's the strongest. Yeah, so I don't know, there's something about her, she's a warrior, and it's the, country comes first. Something about her just, I really like. And not just because I think she's hot.
That's just a bonus.
I thought Captain Marvel, I thought she was used very well in Endgame, and I love that she took down the ship.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
She just flew right through it.
Yeah, totally.
I was like, oh, no you didn't. There's like that scene where she's like, standing toe-to-toe with like Thor, and she's just like standing in her power, and there's no like posturing or anything. She's just standing there in the presence of, in this movie, a god, and she herself is very godlike too. There's this like thing between the two of them, and it's interesting, and you're like, ooh, I wonder who's gonna win.
I like her.
She can throw down, and then when she finally shows up at the battlefield, you're just like, oh, and she takes on Thanos by herself to the point where he has to pull the Power Stone off and then hit her with it. She's like,
yeah.
I was like, oh.
And yeah. But that did send her flying. That is just great tactics by Thanos.
Oh.
He's like he knew what to do. He's like, okay, this isn't working. Well, at least I have the Power Stone. Yeah, good on your feet thinking there, Thanos. They managed to get most of the characters, even like near the end of the final battle, they managed to give everyone a moment. They even got an I Am Groot in there.
That's true.
I don't know. I guess I feel like we covered the big stuff. Anything else you want to add?
No, I could talk about this movie for hours.
Yeah.
I can't wait until I see it next.
Yeah, I'd love to watch it again. Even as you're mentioning some things, I watched it opening weekend. It's been like about a month, and I'm like, man, I don't remember all these little details. Like you're fresh off of it. I'm like, damn, I want to give it a go because I feel like so much happens, especially in that big action sequence. Mm-hmm. You're gonna miss some stuff the first time around, so it is probably worth checking out again just to soak it all in. You won't be surprised anymore. But that's almost the test. Is like, I know now everything that could have been spoiled. Now it's just time to like take it in, like just enjoy the details. Do you need us to recommend Avengers Endgame to you?
Because we will.
Because like if that's what you want us to say, we'll say it. We recommend Avengers Endgame. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. We'd love to hear your favorite moments from the movie. And if there's anything that you thought like they could have done better, we'd be curious to hear what you say as well. Like and subscribe. And, if you're watching this because you're brand new to the channel and you're like, I love Marvel stuff and I watched that Marvel video they did, welcome. And we hope that you enjoyed this review. We love to do these sort of like off-the-cuff conversational reviews. That's what I think that's something that's kind of like unique to the channel that we bring to it. So
keep your stupid comments in your pocket.
Yes. What? Yeah. So hang tight for more movie reviews. Tell your mom.
Tell your mom.